Welcome to part number 8 of Project 308. Now let's see, where did we leave off? Oh yeah, we were loading the doors up into the back of my car for a trip back to the shop so I could do a little bit of minor repair on them. Have I mentioned before, nothing is minor on this car. Small hole number 1, gotta kind of cut that down there, cut it out. This is the bigger problem right here. This madness, I assume that somebody tried to stick a massive speaker, like a 6.9 speaker in there. Both doors are like this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of cut and make this square and then try and replicate that curve through there, same thing on that side, and see what I get. Now if there's one area I'm not particularly fantastic in, it's sheet metal. I'm okay, but it's not my go-to area of practice or expertise, but I think I can get through here. Pay no attention to the 60-year-old bandsaw with no safety guards. We don't need no stinking guards. Well, I'm not gonna lie, but I really suck at this, so I'm gonna try my best. And anyways, I'm gonna try and bead roll a piece. Let's see how it goes. The inner door sheet metal would have been stamped out at the factory, which means the pockets that the speakers sit in are a bit deeper. It won't be perfect, but I think I can get fairly close. Now keep in mind, I could have just slapped one big solid piece of sheet metal across this whole thing and called it a day. I mean, nobody would have seen it. It's going to be covered by the door panel. Okay, this is piece 1. It's the first attempt and I've screwed it up. I follow the outline of this here, which was reasonably accurate for the outside, but I should have made a circle here. Damn. Okay, version 1 is here, version 2 is there. Now I'm an auto mechanic by trade, but I'm also a pretty decent welder. MIG welder, that is. Now, TIG welding, I'm okay at, but I struggle with very thin metal. This inner door panel repair provides me with a great opportunity to practice my sheet metal work and weld fairly thin metal. TIG weld, that is. Like this. Alright, so this rod here is too thick. I need something smaller. The filler rod that I have in-house is too thick, and it is causing me to have to put too much energy into the metal, and I'm blowing holes in the sheet metal because it's too hot. Make me about 6 or 7 of these. So I've pulled some very thin wire out of the MIG welder, and we're using these aircraft safety pliers to wind them together to make some filler rods that are much thinner and require less energy to melt. Alright, not perfect. Hopefully the rest of them will be better, but so far so good. I think once it's primered up and everything, it'll look pretty good. I'm going to start tackling this one here. Once again, square is the operative word, so let's try to make that piece square right now. Alright, it's coming along. Just gotta trim it now. But where do I gotta trim it? Alright, so I got too much going on right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slice this right down there. Now I know I don't look like I'm in my early 50s, but guess what I am? And I'm at that age where eyesight, it kind of sucks. And I'm on my first set of transitions, bifocals. And I learned something in the process today. I can't see what I'm doing. Anybody who's worn a pair of transitions knows you gotta look through the bottom of the lens to see up close, and you gotta look through the top of the lens to see far away. And of course, you gotta get real close to see when you're TIG welding. And I was ending up turning my head up away from the weld to see through the bottom of the lens and then trying to find that sweet spot between the two of them. It just wasn't working. So I went up to my office and dug through the junk and found the old pair of dollar store reading glasses that I used to use. Wow, it worked better. And just have to do a quick fix of that bottom hole. And after a little bit of primer, door number 1 is done. So door number 2, this is the driver's side door. It turned out better. I spent a bit more time making sure that I had my joint really tight. What do they say? It is good from afar, but far from good. But I'm happy. This is an internal panel. The only thing I wish I had done, and I completely forgot to use some weld through primer, which is completely and totally an oversight on my part. Next time I'll make sure I use it. But it's an interior part. It's not going to be getting a lot of moisture. I'm going to leave it in this prime state right now, bring it back to Lawrence, at the body shop for him to do whatever kind of corrosion prevention he's going to do on it. Just threw some primer on it so it doesn't corrode. I'm going to fuss with these hinges now. I've been asked what the big deal is with these hinges. And if we look at it from this perspective, the arc of the door is the big deal. This hinge pin goes this way, and this hinge pin goes that way. And if you're looking at it from here, trying to get a tool in there, there's no way to get it in. Same thing with over there. You have to hit it at an angle, an extreme angle, to try and, 20, 30 degrees to try and be able to do anything. How do you change these pins? And there is no easy way, but as you can see here, I tried to get that out at the body shop. I warmed it up, didn't warm it up enough. But now that that has peened over, it's folded over a bit, that's never going to go through that hole as it is. So I think the key to doing these is to slice it right there, slice the head off, then heat in this center portion right here, and then air chisel and try and push it out to the point where you can grab it on this side with that little, let it swing around right there, try and grab it by there and push it out the rest of the way. Now I gotta say, I've changed my fair share of hinges and various hinge-like components, but I've never changed a Ferrari hinge pin until now. These two doors schooled me, and I mean they burnt me out. So this was the first door, and remember the other hinge pin I managed to get out at Lawrence's shop. This was the easier door today. Door 2 beat me for hours and hours. This was my first major setback of the day because I broke the end of the pin off. At thought it was still warm enough, but it just wasn't, and I gave it too much force and broke it. Ugh. Not the end of the world. You got nothing to grab there. I got a piece off this and sort of put it in there a bit and push on it and try and get it to the point where I can get a pair of vice grips on it. All right, back at you in a minute. All right, so this is part of the hinge from the other door. I've just thrown it in the lathe to remove a bit of it to make it a little bit smaller so it doesn't get stuck here. I'm going to heat that back up again, and then I'm going to try and push on it to try and move that. This one's turning out to be a real bear, and chances of having successfully gotten this out in the car I think are pretty slim. Anyways, I figure the edge of the hinge is right about there somewhere, so I still got to go that much, about an inch. Now, in case you didn't know, these pins, they're not screwed in. They're just sitting in there. There's nothing holding them other than friction. And they're not a press fit, so there should be no effort. They should just fall right out. Terry heard me cursing, you know, the stuff that I edit out, and he's come over to help. And quite simply, I'm at my wit's end, and I can use a little bit extra help right now. Now it's gonna smoke like a bastard now. You don't smoke. It's pretty clear that 4 hands are better than 2 in this case. The shop is slow today, so Terry is sticking with me, and we're on our very last hinge, and it's not coming any easier for him. In fact, it's the worst one yet. We are stuck again with a pin that has broken the head off. Terry's grabbed the MIG welder and he's welding on just a nut. And we're going to see what we can do. After spinning it, heating it, spinning it, lubricating it, it's finally moving a bit. But it's not moving quickly. Finally. Thank you, Jerry. Lawrence is going to be pissed off at me because I scratched his bodywork. Hey? I know. We are going to take the patient to the outside now, and we are going to sandblast. The hole is pretty much exactly 9 millimeters. I've got a 9 millimeter reamer here, and I'm just removing some burrs and cleaning that hole to make my new pin slide in easy peasy. After marking the hinges so I know where they go, it's time to bring the doors back to Lawrence. I've set the doors back off the Lawrence now. I'm waiting for a few gaskets for the engine. There's nothing left for me to do other than attack this lower end. I'm about to wheel this bad boy over to the power washer, and I've covered the sump. The original theory being that this cardboard might save me from getting too soaked. Maybe I might not get a face full of oil from the reflection from the power washer. Yeah, it didn't work. Should have worn a face shield. Never learned. Unfortunately, our Varsol tank is not large enough to take this unit, so it's just get on my hands and knees and clean the damn thing.
Hey, don't be making a mess.
Well, I don't want to make it in my area. Ready? Yep. I'm just going to pull that pan.
Pull the pan?
Well, it's full of shit, right? So I want to get them off and get it cleaned out. Now my goal is to get to the underside of the transmission, and I don't truly need to take off the oil pan, but the tray, the windage tray, has a little bit of a bend in it. I figured it would be easier for me to service it while it was out, but it is proving difficult.
But now that I'm looking at it, it almost looks like the... Oh, I see, it's the dipstick tube that's blocking it. So if I take the dipstick tube out, it'll come out.
Oh, I got it right. First guess.
Oh, look at that.
I'm waiting for you. I'm trying to be as patient as possible. Yeah.
Windy tray number 2. Oil pan.
Another minute, please. All right, so I got a pretty big mess going here, so I'm going to keep right on making a mess right now. I've pulled the back tray off. Terry's giving me some attitude over there because I'm taking him away from his job. Yeah, you got dirty. Most of the time I get dirty helping you. Oh, I know. You just cleaned this floor. Anyways.
The linkage was down there. This is the shift rod that comes from the driver. This is upside down right now. This is the front, towards the front of the car. So what I assumed that there was a problem, there is not a problem. So that was down yonder, but if you put it into its proper position right there, it just kind of floats back and forth, which is... It's weird that Ferrari made that without any kind of detent to hold that from not falling down like that. So, very interesting. So we're just going to clean up and put it back together then. So there's nothing wrong there, which is cool.
Well, that's it for part 8, and I've been speaking with Lawrence, and he says he's going to be painting the car in a couple weeks. So hopefully part 9 will have some really cool paint shots to show you. Anyways, thanks, and subscribe and all that kind of jazz, and we'll catch you in the next video.